Hello and welcome to Lorinda Landia. Today I wanted to talk about how healing is actually about feeling emotions and not understanding them per se. But first, I would like to tell you that I do offer healing sessions. So if you're going through a difficult time and you want to know how to overcome it, I guide you through giving you simple tools and methods that have helped me in overcoming difficult times. It is my first link in description. Growing up, I was not allowed to feel emotions. I grew up with narcissistic parents that for me feeling emotions was a direct reflection of the pain that they were causing me, so they would shame me and guilt tripping me every time that I'll feel emotions. So every time that I'll feel an emotion, I'll cry, I'll feel sad. Basically, they would turn it around for it to be my fault, for it to be the one that is doing something wrong by calling me ungrateful or an ungrateful child, and by turning it around like I'm causing them pain, right? So I grew up very unaware of how to feel emotions and trying to avoid it to the maximum that I could. Not only that, but I think society overall demonizes feeling emotions. So I think there was this overall pressure to not feel and to avoid feeling, which led me to a lot of toxic behavior to escape my own emotions, because basically I was going through traumatic experiences and difficult experiences, and I did not have the space to feel my emotions, right? So I was just bottling up and bottling up until a point that I couldn't take it anymore. And this bottling up led me to a lot of toxic behaviors like excessive drinking and also substances abuse. I did everything that I could to escape my own body and reality, right? And when I started healing, that's when I was faced with it all. I was faced with it all in the sense that I made a decision to start healing, and I did not know what healing looked like at the time, but I made a decision to start revisiting my past, to start seeing old wounds, to start facing them instead of trying to escape them or reject them, right? And when I started feeling for the first time, when I allowed myself to feel for the first time, it all came in. It's like I opened the floodgates to all of my emotions, and I felt really guilty at the beginning for feeling all of these emotions. I felt very like guilty and almost that I shouldn't feel this way, that I shouldn't feel pain, that I shouldn't feel sadness, that I shouldn't feel frustration or anger. And I think throughout this process, there was a lot of intellectualization going on, right? I At the beginning of healing, I think I use a lot of techniques of understanding my trauma. Like, okay, I'm feeling this way because this happened in my childhood, right? I'm feeling this way because of this trauma when I was young. It makes sense, right? But the thing is, healing is not about understanding your trauma. Healing is about feeling your emotions. What I've realized is that you don't even need to understand your trauma. I think understanding your trauma is a powerful tool. What understanding your trauma gives to you is information, knowledge, wisdom, and above all, control. I think understanding that, hey, you are feeling that way because of this gives you a higher sense of control. And that sense of control makes you feel safer, which I think is important. But the root of healing is not in understanding your trauma. The root of healing is not in understanding your pain, is in feeling it. And I think again, when I started healing, because I was not yet used to feeling my emotions, I used this understanding to heal because it was uncomfortable for me to feel my emotions. But the thing is, for you to overcome a difficult experience, for you to overcome trauma, honestly, all you need to do is to feel. your emotions, is to tap into your body, is to cry, is to feel all the anger and all the frustrations and have an healthy outlet for it. Because your body knows what it's doing. Like your body knows that the emotional reaction that you are having is the one that you are supposed to be having. Again, I think we demonize feeling emotions and we demonize feelings because I think we also dehumanize ourselves, right? I think we demonize feelings to the point that we think that is wrong to feel pain, that is wrong to feel sadness, that we shouldn't feel this way or we shouldn't feel that way. But in reality, your body is having a healthy and natural reaction to your life experiences. Your body is basically healing itself. Feeling emotions, crying, not feeling as great, feeling frustrated, feeling angry, is your body healing itself? Is your body processing? And that's all that your body needs to do to overcome a traumatic experience. Again, I think there is power in understanding your trauma. I think there is knowledge, there is power, there is a sense of control that can help us feel safer, right? But at the end of the day, every healing is in feeling, is not in understanding the trauma. I think it is helpful to understand the trauma, but is not the root of healing. And this was a bit difficult for me to accept and a bit difficult for me to do because, right, I've always intellectualized my emotions because also what happened to me a lot in childhood is that my parents will cause me pain, I'll feel pain, and then they will guilt trip me. So they'll create these logic narratives of how I was wrong for feeling that pain. Like they will also gaslight me. So I think there was a lot of intellectualization on their part. They try to intellectualize my emotions. They try to create this narrative around my emotions to put me as the faulty one, to put me as the guilty one, right? So I learned to do that for myself. So I actually think that a lot of my intellectualization was because that was what was done to me. Like I create narratives in my mind of why I was feeling pain instead of just feeling the pain, right? Because that was the narratives that were created in my childhood. And feeling emotions almost like a practice is kind of a skill that I think at the beginning can be difficult if it's the first time that you are feeling emotions, like really letting yourself feel like deep sadness, deep sorrow, like feel those intense emotions. I think at the beginning it can be difficult because it's almost a practice, it's almost a skill. And something that really helps me a lot is by taking out the connotations of good and bad emotions. For example, we see happiness as a good emotion, so it's good to feel it. So when we feel it, great. And we see sadness as a bad emotion. So when we feel sadness, not great, we should avoid it, right? And this connotation of emotions, it's at the end of the day a social construct. Because if we think about it, emotion is just like our body experiencing things. Is our body having bodily sensations? And that really helped me to feel my emotions because instead of categorizing emotions good as or bad. For example, when I feel sadness, I'm like, oh my god, this is a bad emotion. Like I shouldn't feel this, or I should feel this way, or I'm having a bad day, or whatever. Right? Categorizing this type of emotion as quote unquote a bad thing actually was not allowing me to feel that emotion. So what I did is I took out the categorizations of emotions like good or bad emotions to feel, and instead I define them as sensations in my body. So when I started feeling my emotions, instead of trying to intellectualize them, instead of trying to put them in a box, instead of trying to categorize them as good or bad, I just tap into my body and I feel the sensations of it without any connotation or judgments. So when I feel sad and I want to cry and I feel that pit in my stomach, instead of calling it sadness, instead of, yeah, like almost portraying it as a bad feeling. I just portray it as an experience and sensations, like my body experiencing different sensations and having like almost this childlike curiosity of just exploring how your body feels just because it is interesting, right? So what I start doing is I'll feel an emotion, I'll tap into my body and I'll almost focus on the sensation of that emotion. For example, if it's sadness, I'll cry if I needed to, like I'll feel the pit in my stomach and I just like would focus, put my focus and attention on sensations of that sadness, on sensations of that pit in my stomach, and I will just like feel them as long as they have feeling. Because what happens with emotions is that feeling is the way that you process them. If you don't feel it in your emotions, your body doesn't process them, they're still in your body. The more and the longer an emotion is in your body, the stronger the connection it becomes, the stronger it becomes. So the more it builds up and the more is a permanent feeling in your reality, right? The more it exists in your reality, the more we try to suppress it because you experience emotions is you letting go of them. You crying is you letting go of the sadness. You feeling pain is you letting go of that pain. Your body knows what it's doing. Crying is not a bad thing. Crying is actually a very good thing, right? Is you releasing that emotion. And I think it's a beautiful way that our body has, right? Because it literally is releasing water, is letting go of water, which I think, yeah, is very beautiful and interesting that our body is literally is a representation of letting go. So there is really nothing wrong with feeling emotions. There are no right or wrong emotions. I also think, for example, you know that thing that when we look back, like quote unquote, the bad moments are the ones that we remember the most. And I think that happens is because we don't process them. I think we remember like the bad moments and the difficult experience because we don't allow us ourselves to process them. Because when they happen, we escape and we shut down and we refuse to feel. And if we refuse to feel, it stays in our body, it stays in our reality, it repeats itself, right? And I think, for example, because we are taught well, good emotions, because we are taught that good emotions are a certain category, we feel them, we actually seek them to feel them, right? We feel those emotions. So of course we're not going to remember the quote unquote happy times because we process them quite easily, right? They don't stay in our body, they don't stay in our psyche because we process them quite easily and we forget about them, right? And that's kind of when I realized that this social construction of good and bad emotions, it's a social construction. There is no such thing as a good or bad emotion, right? It's us that we construct these emotions according to our lifestyle, according to the life that we live. Because, for example, experience sadness but might not lead us to production or might even not be like something that supports like our lifestyle and the way that we live or even supports like the people that are causing us pain. I think there is a lot of good and bad categories of emotion. There is like the good, what makes this, what maintains the status quo. I think with emotions is what maintains the status quo, is what maintains the normal. So those are good emotions. And bad emotions are usually the more intense ones, the ones that have more emotion behind it, right? And are the ones that disrupt the status quo, right? But I think disrupting the status quo and disrupting the normal and what is has always been is evolution, is adaptation, is a good thing, right? But yeah, overall, we are scared of change, we are scared of growing, we are scared of evolving. It makes sense, right? But at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a good or bad emotion to experience. You can also consider, and I started to consider like bad emotions, quote unquote, as actually the most powerful ones, because sadness, you really feel it in your body, right? You literally cry, like your body has a physical reaction to it. You feel the pit in your stomach, like it's such a powerful emotion, right? That maybe if we spin it around, that could be ecstasy of happiness. That if we lived like in a different society with different set of beliefs, like that could be the epitome of like the best emotion to have, because it's so powerful, it's so intense, right? So that really helped me feel the emotions and realizing that there is no such thing as a good or bad emotion. Actually, the most intense emotions are the ones that are most powerful, right? You feel all these sensations in your body, like your body has a reaction to it. That's, for me, what I learned, an interesting experience to go through. And that really helped me in feeling emotions and getting over trauma and getting over experiences. Now I'm not afraid to cry. If I'm going through a bad moment, I'll cry about it. I don't care anymore, you know. If I'm going through a hard moment, I'll feel my emotions. I take time to feel my emotions. And I'll cry. And just because I cry, it doesn't mean it's a bad day. And just because I cry, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. And just because I cry, it doesn't mean that I'm sad even, you know? And that really helped me in overcoming a lot of trauma and difficult experiences. And that's really the trick. We can intellectualize to give us a sense of control. We can understand that we are going through this because of this sequence of events. But in reality, healing is feeling, and feeling is a purpose of it all. If you want to learn how to feel your emotions, book a healing session with me, link in description. Let me know down in the comments if you resonate with this message. If you like this video, give it a like, and if you like this content, subscribe. Bye.